Well, Jack, I'm really happy that they brought up that part about the fear of losing friendships. I know in my experience with small group ministry, I've worked with groups that have gone through a birthing or a multiplying, and I've received comments like, "You're going to destroy our relationships." And I just really believe if you really built something in those groups, those relationships are going to stay. And you've got a quote
That's
about
right.
that, right?
Right. In fact, I love the quote that says, "Good groups never die, they just become good friendships," and I really think that's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The other thing that I really liked is the fact that they really stayed focused on the mission and purpose. You know, remember why we're doing this as a small group. It's not only about us, but it's about the other people that need to experience that kind of rich, deep community.
Yeah, yeah. And another of the multiple words of wisdom that they shared, the whole thing about multiple ways of multiplying, and that there's not some cookie cutter approach to multiplying a group. I mean, what were some of the ways that they said?
Oh, the drawing of lots?
Yeah, that was a good one. Them just leaving the group.
That's right. That's right. And doing it geographically?
Yeah. And they had the one comment about how important it is to have two sets of leaders. What do you think they were saying about that?
Well, the whole idea of apprentice leaders and multiplying leaders, and it's not just important to have one set of leaders in a group, but really the pipeline that you can develop and how important that is to really multiplying groups.
Right. Well, I'm anxious to hear more.
Me too.
Let's watch some more.
Me too.
The groups that we led, some groups it took longer to talk through. And it didn't matter if this was their first group experience or they had been in more than one group. It always seemed, certain people, it's just harder for them to do that. And, it wasn't just a conversation. When we talked about it's time to do this, it could be over a couple months or 3 months before we actually were able to do it.
Because you have to cast that vision, and you don't just birth successfully by coming in 2 weeks saying, we're really getting a little big, I think we need to do this. But for, like Greg said, a couple of months, you're laying the groundwork that, this is why we're here, and we want to be able to share the experience that we're having with others. This is what we're working towards.
Craig, as we're listening here to Tim and Tina, it's easy to think that they've led all perfect groups and that it's all been smooth sailing. So it's kind of affirming to hear that they hit some rough spots as well. And, I think through this whole multiplication process, the importance of listening and having conversations with your small group members as you go through the process is so critical.
Well, and I think, too, you'd avoid some rough patches the more you talk about multiplying. And as Tim Trinity, is that his name? He had said a comment about it wasn't just a conversation. So it wasn't just one time they said, hey, let's multiply our group. They said it multiple times. They said it months in advance before the group really multiplied. And I would say, I know from personal experience, groups that I've started up, I've shared, kind of cast that vision about the group multiplying in my invitation to a person. So I'd say, hey, you want to be a part of this group? And just to let you know, this is a group that we hope in, 6 months to a year or 18 months that we'd multiply and grow, and so that we could touch more lives with the love of Christ.
You're going to be an abounding group from day one.
That'd be the vision to cast.
That would be the vision.
Right. Okay, let's watch more.
Or two of the things that I would say are very important when you're leading a group that you want to be able to grow and multiply is to remember to invite people, because if you don't have that empty chair in the room and you're not bringing people in, you won't be able to multiply.
The second thing would be trying to remind yourself, and as you remind others in the group, that it's not just about us. It's about other people as well. Just like the mission of Trinity has always been loving people to Christ, and Trinity has always been open and looking to bring people in. We need to keep that mission going in the groups, whether it doesn't have to be bang people on the head with it, but the empty chair is one way. Just talking about, inviting people, and what do we do just bringing up the possibility of multiplying or birthing over time. So it's not a one-time deal. Prayer is definitely important as well. Prayer for the leaders that they are following what God would want them to do, and prayer for the people in the group that they're being faithful as well.
You know, Craig, this section really reminded me of Jesus' words about loving the Lord your God with all your heart, your soul, and loving your neighbor as yourself, and how important it is for small groups to really be focused not only on serving their group members, but also serving beyond the group as well.
Yeah, I mean, just those 3 recaps of inviting, of reminding that it's not about them, it's about others, prayer. I mean, it's very inspiring in just those attributes of humility, their focus on being God-centered, others-centered. That is, I want to be that. I mean, they're inspiring me as a leader to remind me about that focus.
Tim and Tina are great role models for all of us, aren't they?
Yeah, they definitely are.
Yeah.
They definitely are.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's see the last session here.
One of the things that, as we talked about this, really kind of surprised us is the length within the country that our groups have grown to. Some of our leaders get transferred to North Carolina, where they were going to start groups. We had one couple go to Ohio, and after they were gone for maybe 4 or 5 months, he came back to Trinity with a whole contingent from his new church to learn about small groups here. And that was very exciting. We have people in St. Louis. I got Facebooked from somebody this week who is now in St. Louis, and they are a part of a church. They're doing small groups, but they're a part of a church that is almost paralleling what we're doing here at Trinity, and they just started a mission in one of the St. Louis suburbs, and so we were joyfully celebrating that God is doing the same things in our lives, 15 years later.
We've actually had, through our groups, probably 4, maybe 5 people that have gone to full-time ministry, whether it's here or someplace else, whether it's in the Lutheran Church or not. You're just inviting people to come over and into your home to spend some time with them, but over the Word, and you just don't know what kind of impact that's going to make. You have no idea.
That is the joy of doing this ministry. It's that we have this very small part that God has asked us to play.
We talked about how many groups we thought we have led or been a part of, and we're not quite sure of the total number because things tend to blur, but we think there was probably somewhere between 12 and 15. And then we were coaches for groups for a number of years, and that could have been another 15 to 20. And we thought, well, if all of those people, and there was some overlap where people were in more than one situation, how many people would that be? If we got all them together, and then however that has branched out or rippled out to every place else, and I don't think it's overestimating to say it could be 500 people. And that's just from doing this little thing of getting together in your home with other people around God's Word and say let's have community. Let's do life together.
I'm Margaret Placco.
And I'm Greg Placco, and this is our story.
So as it was revealed, this was a true story. We had Greg and Margaret Placco, and Greg even said they were just one small part of this thing. And I know that if we could look, that there's other stories of abounding leaders, of abounding groups throughout Trinity's years of small group experience?
I'm sure there probably are, and what else I appreciated is just the whole idea of how simple it is. It's just a matter of inviting people to your home, study God's Word, and do life together.
Yeah.
It really isn't all that tough, is it?
Yeah, and it's truly amazing how one small group or a couple of these groups that just Margaret and Greg led or had the privilege of being associated with, how they touched lives across the country. And not just here in our Lisle community or surrounding area. That's pretty amazing in the number. They had like 500 people. And we look back at that groupings video where they had this big banquet, this reunion. We don't know what that number was or in that kind of fictitious story.
Yeah.
But we got a little picture of that from Greg and Margaret of what could be, how God could influence and use abounding leaders and abounding groups to expand His kingdom. I think that's why we're here, and I think that's why we're talking about this session. So I pray God blesses your small group as you discuss this.